This is part 4 of the 5-part video. In this part 4, we'll just do some simple run the locomotive exercises where all we need is a small loop of track in a single locomotive. Here's demonstration 7. We'll use this to start up a locomotive. And our comments are this simple routine starts up the loco and leaves it running. We'll have to turn off the command station to stop the loco since there is no other way to stop it. And this is simple. As simple as possible. We just got 2 commands. Our first command is select the loco 3364 in this case, and again, the red is shown as the variable, what the variable is for this command. In other words, if the loco is a different number, the number in red would be the other loco number. If it was 1216, we'd put a 1216 in here. But then the second command is our speed command, which starts it up. We're saying speed forward 16, so that'll start it up at a speed 16. And we just have to make sure the next command is an end command so that this doesn't continue executing statements we don't want executed. So we've just got a simple 2-line program here that'll start up the engine. Now we have no way to stop this locomotive once it's started. If we had a second pro cab or even one of the other ones plugged into the cab bus on the mini panel, we could control the loco with that. But since we're doing this video with only one pro cab, and our pro cab is plugged into the programming jack, we have no way to communicate directly with the engine, so we'll have to turn off the command station to stop the engine. Here we are down in the train room now. We've got our little loop of Kato HO test track set up on a piece of plywood, and over here is the connection to the track, which comes back to the terminals that connected to the Powerhouse Pro. This is an old, approximately year 2000 vintage Powerhouse Pro, but it still works fine with everything. And then we've got the cord that came with the mini panel in the package plugged into the cab bus port on the Powerhouse Pro, and that comes out this cord to the cab bus jack on the mini panel, of which there are 2, and we're using one, and there's one empty one. And then into the programming jack, we've got our pro cab plugged in. So when this mini panel, when the system is started up, the mini panel should come up in programming mode. And I'm going to take the phone out of the holder for a second so we can go over there and start this thing up. So everything's off right now. This switch here will turn on when I flip this switch here, that'll start the Powerhouse Pro up. And you can see it says Pro Cab Mini Panel, so that's our top level menu. And if I push the enter key, this is really our top level menu that we've been using previously in this video. And what I'm going to do is stop for a second here. Okay, we're ready to enter these commands. So we're going to push 1 for setup, push 1 again for input, and we're going to work over at input 7. So we'll push a 7 to tell it what input number it is. So we push a 7, hit the enter key, and we want to do step number 1, which it's defaulted to, so we just push enter again. Now it tells us it's ready to accept commands input 7 step 1, which is where we want to be. So we're going to enter the select loco command, which we know is the keys 313364 for this loco number. So we're going to push scroll this, we're going to push a 3 for loco, and then a 1 for 1 for select, it's up here. And then the number 3364. Enter. So now the next command that's ready to take the next input in it, when you select the Loco, it usually assumes the next thing you're going to enter is a speed command. So it's already selected Loco. It says Loco command, so we're ready for step 2, and we don't need to put in this 3. A lot of times I forget and put it in, and then it gets the thing messed up and I have to go back and fix it. So it's already it's already ready to take a Loco command. So we're going to start with the 2s, which is speed. So I'll push the 2, and the second 2 is the mode 128, so I'll push 2 again, and then it's ready for speed value, which is 16, so we enter 1, 6, and push the enter key. And now it says set direction. Usually you want forward, so you just hit enter. If you want reverse, you push the direction key, and that switches it to reverse. I'm going to toggle it back to forward and hit the enter key. Now it's ready for input 7, step 3. There already should be end commands in there from when we did this, when we reset this thing back earlier in the video. So let's back out of the programming by hitting the program escape key, and that brings us back to the main menu. So we'll push 3 for test operation, and it says what input number, and it's defaulted to 7, and 7 is the input we want to test. So we're going to hit enter, and that locomotive should start up. I'm going to push enter, and there you can see it. So that started our Loco up. And as he said earlier, we got no way to stop this because we can't communicate directly with the Loco with only one cab plugged into the programming port. So the only way to really turn this off is go over here and hit the turn the power off, which is what I'm going to do now. Well, I didn't do it, but I'm going to turn the power off in a minute. Demonstration 8 starts the locomotive, runs it, and stops it. So basically this routine starts up the Loco, runs it for 10 seconds, then stops it. And the change from our previous demonstration 7 is this routine stops the Loco. The other one, the previous demo 7, just started it up and let it run. So if you look at our commands, the first 2 commands are the same. Select the Loco, start it up at speed step 16. Now instead of an end statement, which we had before, we have a delay 1/4 second times 40. And here's what the numbers will punch in look like with the variable in red. So this amounts to a 10-second delay. It'll be 1/4 second times 40, which gives us the 10 seconds. Now, you could use the 4-second delay just as easy and have 10 of those. I tend to use the 1/4 second delay a lot because then if you need a longer or shorter delay, you can adjust it up or down by 1/4 second. Then our final command will be a speed forward 0, which will stop the Loco. So we're going to select the Loco, start it up, do a delay statement for 10 seconds, which basically just makes the MIDI panel sit and twiddle its thumbs doing nothing. And then when it's done with that, done executing that delay statement, it'll stop the locomotive. And our next statement again needs to be a terminate statement, an end statement, so we don't wander into the next any further commands that we don't want to wander into. Alright, now we'll do demonstration 8, and we're going to use the same first 2 commands we used previously that we entered a minute ago for demonstration 7, except we're going to add a delay statement and then a speed forward 0 statement. So we'll go ahead and power the system up. And I'll push an enter key here. Okay, we went past the introductory screen into the top level menu. So I'm going to push 1 for setup, 1 for input, And then we've already got steps 1 and 2 entered from the previous demonstration 7, and they're the same. So we're going to tell it to go to step 3 this time by pushing a excuse me, I got to tell it input 7 first. I'm going to say 7, input 7. Now it's defaulted to step number 1 as it normally does, but we'll push a 3 to tell it we want to work at input 7, step 3, and that's this delay a quarter second times 40. So we're going to push 5 for delays, and then a 1, 5 for other, then a 1 for delays, and now we'll push a 2 for quarter second delays, and we want 40 of them. So we're going to push 4, 0, 40, and push enter. And then for step 4, we're going to say speed forward 0. So we're going to push 3 for Loco, and 2 for speed. 2 for speed step 28 as opposed to 128. And we're going to speed value is 0, which is it's defaulted to 0, and that's what we want. And then it says set direction F, defaulted to forward, and we'll push and enter to accept forward. When you're setting it to speed 0, it really doesn't matter if you have forward or reverse there, because speed 0 stop, whether it's forward speed 0 or reverse speed 0. The only difference is if you have directional lights on the locomotive, if you put F in, the front lights will stay on. If you put an R in for speed 0, the reverse lights will come on when the locomotive stops. But at any rate, we'll push enter to accept forward. Now we're done working with these 4 steps at input 7, so we're going to push the setup key to back out of our inputting. Excuse me, we're going to push the program escape key to back out. Now let's review those. So we'll push 2 for review, and we want to review at input 7. So push enter. Now the first one is select Loco 3364. That's what we want. Step 2, speed forward 16. That's what we want. Push enter 3, delay a quarter second times 40, that's 10 seconds. That means the mini panel will just do nothing for 10 seconds delay. You can think of the D in delay as the same as in D in do nothing. And that means it'll let the Loco run for 10 seconds. And the last step, step 4, is speed forward 0, so it'll stop the Loco, and that'll be the end of this routine. As opposed to the previous one, it started up the Loco and left it running. This should start up the Loco, run it for 10 seconds, and stop. So let's hit our program escape key down here to back out of the review. Now we'll push 3 for test operation, and we want to test input number 7, which is what it's defaulted to. So when we push the enter key, that just start that Loco up again. And when that happens, I'm going to take the iPhone out of the gooseneck holder so we can see the layout, hopefully. There goes the Loco. So there's our Loco, ran for 10 seconds, got a speed forward 0 command, so it's powered down and idling, and that program's done executing. Let's go over here now. That says press program escape to resume, to end testing. So I'll push the program escape key, and it comes back to the top level menu. So let's just do that again. We're going to push 3 for test, and we want to input 7, which was what we got. So I'm going to press enter, and when I push the enter key, that Loco should start up again. So that'll run for another 10 seconds. And it gets the 10 seconds goes by, and it gets the stop command, and it powers down. So that's basically an extension of our first routine. We just started up the Loco and let it run. Here we're starting up the Loco for 10 seconds and letting it run for 10 seconds and then stopping it. For demo 9, we're going to go back and use inputs 2 and inputs 3 to have some little routines that will turn on the lights and the strobe and the sound at input 2 and then turn them off at input 3. And recall back at the beginning of this video in section G, we set the configuration memory such that we enabled continuous memory for inputs 4 and above. And this means that inputs 1 through 3 have non-continuous memory. And what that means is routines in inputs 1 through 3 don't need an end command. Any commands we put in there will stop with the execution of the fourth step. For example, here, if this was continuous memory, we'd have to have an end command following this to stop it. But since it's non-continuous memory, it will stop when it gets to step 4. Then the other thing is we disabled inputs 4 and above. But what this means is inputs 1 through 3 are still enabled. That is to say, they'll be pulled by the mini panel and thus can be used for push buttons. So we could use a push button at input 2 and another push button at input 3 to start the sound and lights up and to turn the sound and lights off. And I want to make a comment. Normally I don't use a mini panel for turning on functions. I usually just use a second cab plugged into the cab bus. These sound functions are a little bit flaky, but since we're doing this video with just one cab and our cab is in the programming port of the mini panel, the only way we can turn it on if we stick to using one cab is to use these little routines. So the routine for turning the stuff on, the functions on at input 2 is the first thing is select Loco 3364, and then these functions come in batches, function 0 through function 4, and function 0 is a headlight, so we put a 0 in there, and that'll turn the headlights on, and it'll actually look like this in the display of the Pro Cab. This is function 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 here, and it means 0 is on, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 are off. Then go on to the next step, functions 5 through 8, we'll have function 5 turned on and leave the other ones off. And function 5 controls the strobe, F5. The sound is on, the audio mute is F8, but if we leave F8 alone, the sound should stay on. So we'll just enter a 5. And again, it'll look like this in the ProCab's display. This is function 5, function 6, function 7, and function 8. And what this means is that function 5 is on and functions 6, 7, and 8 are off. And for our last command, we'll just put a terminate in to cleanly fill that space up. Now, the next 4 commands at input 3 will turn off the locomotive's headlights, rooftop, strobe light, and sound. So our 4 commands for that at step 1, we have select Loco 3364 again, and functions 0 through 4 are all going to be off in this case, and that'll turn the headlights off when F0 is off. Then functions 5 through 8, we'll put an 8 in, which is the audio mute. In other words, audio mute is when function 8 is on. So that, again, this will look like this in the ProCab's display. Function 5, 6, and 7 will be off, but function 8 will be on. So we'll just enter a function 8. And then our final command, we'll give it a speed forward 0 command, just in case this Loco is moving, it'll stop it. So we'll run these using the test commands out of the programming mode like we've been doing, but you could hook up a push button to terminal 2 to turn these functions on, and you could hook up a second push button to terminal 3 to turn these functions off. And again, the push buttons won't work in the programming mode, but you have to unplug the ProCab from the programming port and restart the system so it comes up in operations mode, not programming mode, and then the push buttons would work. We're ready to enter the commands for this demonstration 9. We'll turn the system on here. And in a minute we'll get there's our introductory screen. Push the enter key to get to the top level menu. So we want to start entering these at input 2, step 1. So we're going to say 1 setup, 1 for input. We'll tell it, push a 2 to tell it input 2, press the enter key. It says step number 1, we'll press enter to confirm that. So we're ready to go for input 2, step 1. For our first command is select Loco 3364, so that's a 3, and then a 1 for select, and 3364 to enter the Loco. Now step 2, it thinks we want to enter well, it's already defaulted the Loco command, so we'll do a 3 for function, and then a 1 for functions 0 through 4. Now all our digits are turned off, so all we want is the headlight on, so we're going to push a 0 and that turns the headlight on. That's all we want. Now let's say if we wanted function 3 on, we'd push a 3. Now I just turned function 3 on, but we don't want that on, so I'm going to push it off again, or push it again to turn it off. And likewise, if you push the 4, it turns on function 4, and you can toggle these, and there's function 2 and toggling it off. So we've got what we want here, just function 0 to turn the headlight on, so we'll press enter. So now we're ready for step 3. And we're going to, again, we're going to push 3 for Loco and 3 for function. And we want to push a 2 for functions 5 through 8. And again, all we want is a strobe on, so we're going to push a 5. Now there's the 5 that tells us our strobe is on. If we wanted to push 8, or say we want to turn function 7 on again, we'd push a 7, but we don't, so I'll toggle that off. So we're going to push the enter key to confirm that. And then our last thing, we'll just put a terminate in there to fill that empty space, but just to make sure there's nothing there we don't expect to be there. So we'll hit a 5 for other, and I hit too many things. I'll back up one. Do that again. Okay, we're back to, well, okay, input 2, step 4, 5 for other, 7 for terminate, 1 to confirm it. And it says command buffer full, and it does that typically at the 4th step if you have non-continuous memory. If it was continuous memory, it would keep right on going. But you see that command buffer full statement when it's non-continuous memory, so we hit the enter key. Now we can go ahead and do the same thing at input 3 to turn these functions off. So we're going to do 1 for setup, 1 for input. We're going to tell it input 3, push the 3, hit enter. Step number 1, we'll hit enter to confirm it, step number 1. So again, we're going to select the Loco 3, 1, 3, 3. Well, it was already defaulted to 3364. I could have just hit the enter. Okay, we're ready for step 2, which is commands, and we want a function, so we're going to push 3 for function. And again, we want F0 through F4, so I'll push 1 to select that. And we want to just turn everything off, so everything is defaulted to off. So if we just hit enter, that means all those functions will be turned off. Now input 3, step 3, we need to do the higher functions, so we're going to push 3 for Loco, 3 for functions, 2 to get to the functions 5 through 8. Now the only thing we want to do is turn the we're going to turn the strobe light off, and we're going to, and that is off, but the function 8 for the audio, we actually have to put that in because we're saying, apparently the way the Soundtrack's decoder works, we have to say this is audio mute is what that is. So we want 8 turn, we want function 8 active, which it says audio mute is active. Okay, then our last step will give speed forward 0, so we're going to do 3 for Loco, 2 for speed, 2 for 28 steps, speed value 0, forward, enter. So again, it gives us that command buffer full message, so we'll put the program escape key, which I think is off the screen, back out of that. Now we'll review these, so we'll push 2 for review, and we want to review at input 2, enter. So we got select Loco 3364 in step 1. If we push enter again, we got function 0 being turned on, the headlight. At step 3, we've got the strobe being turned on, function 5, and we've got a terminate statement. Then if we go on into step input 3, again, these are the 4 steps to turn things off. Select the Loco. There's function 0 being turned off to turn off the headlight. Here's function 8 being turned on to turn on the audio mute, which means turn the sound off, in our speed forward 0 step. So we'll do program escape to back out of the review, and now we can test that. And I guess what we'll do is take the phone out of the holder so we can see the engine's over there. So I'm going to say test operation, and we want to test input 2 to turn things on. So I'll say input 2. Now when I push the 2, or when I push the enter button for testing input 2, you can see maybe the strobe light came on and the headlight is on. Now the sound doesn't come on until the engine is actually moved. So what we'll do is we'll execute that little routine at input 7, which started the Loco up and ran it, and that should turn the sound on. So we're going to do press program escape, test operation, input 7, push that. There it goes. You can see now the headlight's been turned on. Okay, that ran again because I had put another command in. I was testing the next demonstration. But you can see it's things are turned on. Now let's go in here and we're going to do program escape. Well, we're going to do test operation 3, input number 3, and that's the one that should turn things off. So you can see the strobe light, the headlight, and the sound went off. Now we'll do input, we'll do test operation, input 2, which is the one that turned them on. You see it turn things back on again. And if we do program escape, test operation, input 3, it'll turn them off. So like I mentioned earlier, that the sound is a little flaky. I actually prefer to use a second Pro Cab plugged into the cab bus port, and I can directly turn that stuff off, on and off with the engine. But since we're using just the one cab here that's plugged into the programming jack, we got to use these little routines to turn the lights and sound on and off. This is demonstration 10, where we'll start the Loco, run it, and stop it, but then we'll repeat that process. If you recall a minute ago when we did demonstration 8, we started the Loco, ran it, and then stopped it, and there it sat. And we used these 4 commands at input 7 to start it up and run it and stop it. Now we'll just add 2 commands additional at input 8. And what these will do will delay for a quarter second times 24. And that's a delay of 6 seconds that it'll sit there at speed 0. We're saying park for 6 seconds. Then we link to input 7, so it'll go back to the top of this routine and start over, start it up and run it for 10 seconds again. So what should happen is it'll run for 10 seconds, stop and park for 6 seconds, and then repeat the routine, run for 10 seconds and stop and park for 6 seconds. A minute ago we did this, we did demo 8, which ran these 4 commands at input 7, which started the Loco, ran it for 10 seconds and stopped it, and that was it. Now we're just going to add some commands, 2 commands to that will cause it to keep repeating that. So we'll power up we'll power up the system here. And we're going to wait a minute till there it is. Okay, there's our top level menu. So we've got these 4 commands in already from demo 8. We're going to put these, actually add 2 commands and 2 terminates, or 1 terminate really will do it. So we're going to push 1 for setup, and it's deep, and I think I hit it twice, so it's already in the input, and it's default input 1. We want input 8, so we're going to push an 8 and enter. So we're ready for step 1. Now it's at input 8, step 1. So we want to enter this 6 second delay. So we're going to go 5 for other, 1 for delays, 2 for quarter second, 24 of them, which will be 6 seconds. Now the next command is going to be linked to input 7. So 5 for other, 3 for link, 7 to link to input 7, enter. Now next we'll do a terminate command for step 3. So it's going to be 5 for other, 7 for terminate, 1 to confirm. And we can put 1 in the 4th step, 5, 7, 1. Now we'll do program escape to back out of that. We'll review them. 2 for review. We want to review at input 7. Enter. So we've got select Loco 3364 at step 1. Step 2, speed forward 16. Step 3, delay a quarter second times 40. That's our 10 seconds running time. Step 4 is speed forward 0. And then step 1 of input 8 is delay a quarter second times 24. That's our 6 second stopping time. And then linked to input 7, it goes back and repeats the process. So what we'll do now, hit program escape. We'll see if I can turn our lights and sound on with, I'm going to say, test operation input 2, which is the one we were using to turn on the lights and stuff. And let's get the phone out of the holder here where we can maybe watch both the Loco and the Pro Cab. So we're geared up here at we're ready to test input 2. So if I hit the enter key, there's our strobe light and our headlights came on. So I'm going to hit the escape key to end testing. Now we're going to say test operation, and we're going to say input 7, and that's this routine here. It'll start the Loco, run it, and stop it. And notice there's 2 delay statements. The first one controls how long the locomotive runs for, and the second one controls how long it's stopped for. So we're ready to tell it to test input 7, so I'm going to hit the enter key. And our Loco takes off. runs for 10 seconds. It should stop in a second. There, it stopped. Now the wait there about 6 seconds. Now starts up again. It'll run for another 10 seconds. Stop. Wait for about 6 seconds. Run for another 10 seconds. Stop. Wait for about 6 seconds. Run for another 10 seconds. And this time when it stops, I'm going to try to push the reset button, which will break the routine. There, it stopped. Now I'll try to push the... There, I got it. I want to see that button blinking, which means I got the reset command set from this button connected to cross terminals 31 and ground, which will reset the mini panel. So that broke the routine. So now the engine stopped. It's not going to go any further. So now we have a way to stop it by breaking the routine while it's parked for 6 seconds, so to speak. And if we want to, we can go ahead and turn the sound and lights off. Hit the enter key here. Test operation, and input 3 was the one that turned those functions off. So if I hit the enter key, the lights and sound and strobe turned off. So that shows how we can start the Loco, run it, stop it, and keep repeating that process all while we're in test mode.